Hey y'all, welcome to Cooking with Miss Holt. It is a hot day here in Georgia in July, but it's a beautiful day and it's going to be a wonderful day. Before we get started, I have to tell you about the little shirt that I'm wearing. If you follow Mama Sue or Cooking with Miss Annie, and I'll tag them in this post, but if you don't follow them, I wish you would. They're just the sweetest ladies ever. But anyway, this shirt comes from their website, and if you follow them, you know what that's about. But I'm wearing this in honor of a friend of mine who is coming to the end of her chemo treatments, and she's just getting great news and having great progress. But our little group of friends were so happy for her that she's to the end and doing well. And so I bought us matching shirts, one for her and one for me at the beginning of this process. And so we've just worn these shirts in support of her. And so that's what this shirt is about. So today we are going to be making banana bread. And if you've watched one of my videos in the past, you know that I wrote a cookbook about 7 years ago, and I just sold it locally. I'm a former home ec teacher and taught home ec a long time. And people, just kept stopping me at, different events and things and say, "Give me that recipe for the cake you bought to the family reunion or the casserole you took to that party," or whatever. So anyway, I wrote this book. It's called Cooking with a Small Town Girl, about in 2016, I think. And anyway, they're sold out. We've had them reprinted several times, and I've just sold them locally. But several people have asked me about reprinting those, and I'm looking into that now because I think I have 3. That's all I have left. But anyway, we're going to be making banana bread. It's called My Favorite Banana Bread in there, and so that's what we're making today. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me turn you down here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to move my book out of the way so we don't get anything on it here. Okay, so what I have, let me pull you forward just a little bit there. So what I have in this bowl here is just 2 eggs, and I'm going to add a cup of sugar. So we're going to put that in there, and I'm going to beat that up just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to tell you about a little trick that I read somewhere, and I feel like it makes a difference, and so I'm going to show you here. But this is 1/3 of a cup of canola oil. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to drizzle this in slowly. And somebody who's really smart about food that I know has told me that this makes a big difference. And I've tried it before, and I think it does. So I'm just going to kind of put it in slowly. Okay, I deleted part of that out or fast forwarded it because I didn't want you to have to wait for me to beat all that up, but you can see what it looks like right there. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a teaspoon of vanilla, and I buy vanilla at Costco. And so, because I go through so much of it, I buy it in big bottles, and I'm kind of getting to the end of this bottle, and my bottle is looking kind of messy here because I'm at the end of my bottle. But anyway, that's a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm gonna show you this little box that I have here. This little box is sort of my little box that I keep in my cabinet, and I keep vanilla, baking powder, baking soda, turn it around, baking soda, and a little container of salt. And this is the ingredients that I use all the time, and I can just pull this out of the cabinet. I'm not searching through the cabinet for things, and I know where everything is, and it's all right together. And I get a lot of questions from young people, especially, about asking me, is baking soda and baking powder the same thing? They are not. And they will call me and say, well, you know, Ms. Holt, my chocolate chip cookie recipe calls for baking soda, and I don't have any. Can I just substitute baking powder? No, unfortunately you cannot. They are absolutely different products and have different uses. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there, and I'm gonna set this aside. Okay, I'm going to put in my bananas next. So I have about 3.5 very ripe bananas, and the riper you can let your bananas be, the better off you are. And that made about 1.5 cups, but it's 3.5 really ripe bananas mashed. And I'm gonna throw in a little something different here today. This is not in my cookbook, but again, someone told me about this, and I have done it before, and it works really well. I'm gonna put 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Roundabout, you can just eyeball it. It's just something to give it a little bit moisture texture. Okay, so then we're gonna beat this up. Okay, and then you can see I have my white lily flour right here, all-purpose flour. So this is 1.5 cups of white lily all-purpose flour, and I have a teaspoon of soda in here and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna just dump that in right there. And I'm gonna start off on low. Just mix that in. Now, I'm not gonna mix this long because banana bread is what's considered a quick bread. And this is what it looks like right here. And I'm going to put in, spilling my pecans. I'm gonna put in about 1/2 cup of pecans right there, and you can leave those out. You can put walnuts, or you don't have to put any nuts in it at all. I'm gonna kind of scrape down our bowl right there and stir those in. And then this is what our finished product looks like right here. Okay, and I'm gonna turn you up just a little bit so that I can talk to you about something else. Okay, now I've got my loaf pan buttered and sugared. So I've sprinkled sugar in it because it'll give you a crispy crust on the outside of your banana bread. And so what I did was I took, you guys know I like Challenge butter, and I buy it when it's on sale. I try to get it, when it's buy one, get one free, but I just took salted butter, took a stick and just kind of rubbed the inside, and then sprinkle sugar on it because it'll give you a crispy texture on the outside of your banana bread. But what I was gonna say here, I'm getting off track, but when I was stirring up the banana bread, what I was gonna say is you don't wanna beat it a long time. You don't want to just keep beating it, stirring it, because banana bread is what's called a quick bread. And that it is just what it says. It's not a bread that you let rise and we put yeast in it and it takes all day to make it. It's not like that. It's literally a quick bread. And if you've ever made muffins and the muffins came out with sort of like cone shaped tops, or they were tough and just didn't look really, really nice, it's probably because you beat them too much. So you just want to beat it just enough to get the ingredients moistened. You don't want to keep, once you get the flour in there, you don't want to just keep, going on and on and on. I'm going to pour this batter into our sugared loaf pan. And I will say this too, also, if you use glass, I turn it down 25 degrees. So the temperature 25 degrees. So let's say that this were a light colored metal pan. I would probably do 350 in the oven, but in glass, I always turn it down 25 degrees because glass conducts heat way better than metal, and it's going to get way hotter. And to me, it burns. If I cook this on 350 for an hour, it would burn. So I'm going to cook it on 325 for about 50 minutes to an hour. Probably it's going to be closer to an hour, but you need to just stick a toothpick in it, pull the toothpick out when there's no batter showing, it's just maybe some crumbs, then it's done. And then we will see. So let me bake this, and then I'll come back to you later and I'll show you when it comes out of the oven. Okay, y'all, our banana bread is out of the oven, and it took about an hour to bake. And you'll notice that I have this on a cooling rack, and that is so air can get underneath it while it cools, and we want air to be able to circulate, and otherwise it'll get soggy on the bottom. So anytime you pull a cookie sheet out of the oven with cookies on it, or bread of any kind, you want it to put it on a cooling rack. And I'll tell you a secret. If you don't have a cooling rack, you can turn a muffin pan upside down, and you can set it on that. Anything is better than the flat countertop, because it'll sweat, and that condensation will make the bottom of your cookies or brownies or bread or whatever, it'll make it soggy. And also, I don't know if you can see this or not, but you can also tell when bread or cake is done because it begins to pull away from the side of the pan a little bit. It kind of begins to retract. But anyway, thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you make this, and I will put the recipe in the comments. And thank you so much for joining me.